No updates from Gateway this time.
All right, thank you. Shutter?
Really no updates this week. Still focusing on our API Shutter release.
All right, Hive?
After finishing Spectre testing, I have switched back to Hive. So I updated Gnosis Hive repository with upstream. And also now I'm looking for a way how to run EAST test for Nethermind. Yeah, this is for my site.
So what was the test for Nethermind?
We have EAST test almost ready, and we can run it using Hive. So currently I'm working on a way how to run it with Hive.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, sorry, did I forget to share my screen? Okay, sorry. So Ethereum tests?
Yeah, as Dmitry said, it's almost finished generating Prague Gnosis tests. Yeah, and like 95%, and that's it. Yeah.
All right. Just generic updates for clients, Nethermind?
So we prepared a release with the fix, but related to Ethereum devnets, Ethereum testnets, and right now we are working on shadow release, and it should be soon. Perfect. I think that's mostly it.
So do you have any TA for the Pectra release for Gnosis Chain?
Tomorrow or Friday, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. We'll release Pectra. All right, Erigon?
So we are going to release the first release candidate of Erigon 3 soon, and we'll include Shadow in there. So I wanted to double check, like despite the Holesky debacle, Shadow is still scheduled on the 6th of March, right? Or are we postponing like Pectra on Shadow?
No way. So this is purely a config issue, and in our case, the ELs have been using the deposit contract for a while, so it should not affect us. And I think this issue is purely a config problem that doesn't affect anything in the spec or the stability of the network. So we should just go ahead.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, like the way Holesky failed is quite spectacular, and something like similar happens on the mainnet. Like it's very depressing that we cannot kind of rescue the chain.
I mean, why do you consider it was spectacular?
Well, I mean, it's still broken.
I mean, if you have a config issue in the majority clients and then you justify the bad block.
Well, but okay, imagine it happens on the mainnet. What do we do? Like
we canonicalize the bad chain. We make special rules to have a deposit contract for some slots and then switch back to the other one. Some deposits will not be credited, and then we move on.
Okay, sounds like okay, maybe, but that sounds a bit risky to me.
I mean, that we either do that or slash 2/3 of mainnet validators.
Yeah, I'm not, but maybe it's better to slash the 2/3 of mainnet validators.
Why?
Why? Because it's kind of Well, I mean, depends on the magnitude of a problem, but like
Yeah, I mean,
imagine
for this
you have a
specific,
bug that
for this
allows
specific, I know. But for this specific problem, if we're talking about Holesky in particular, it's not a too damaging issue. So we can canonicalize it. It's not a bad problem.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I still think that we need to work like to have better tools and better like backup plan. If we do need to rescue a chain in a similar situation, then we should be better prepared next time.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it was, I would say this failure was, so the Holesky issue was a failure of client diversity, because it's really rare to have multiple clients have exactly the same bug such that it becomes a super majority issue.
Yeah, I think that was a bit unfortunate. And also, like, small question line. Is my understanding correct that this blob side subnet count, it's actually like for DNAP it differs from the max blobs per block, but so it's like 6 for DNAP, but then in Electra they both become 2, right?
Yeah, I was looking into that. So the rationale there was before Electra, so the DNAP spec only include a constant for the subnet count, but not for the max in consensus layer. So by defining a subnet count that was higher than our actual blob count, we could increase the blob count only by doing an execution fork. So we would not have to modify consensus clients. As you know, in our case, this is very expensive. So keeping, basically the consensus layer thought that the max was higher, but the execution is the one actually enforcing. That's fine, because blocks that have blobs above our maximum are invalid anyway. But then it allows the execution to just bump the blob count without having to modify consensus. Then in Electra, this new constant, the max blobs per block, was introduced, but this is not used in the NEP, or was not used in the NEP before. It depends on how clients are architecturing the Electra fork. That constant may or may not be used. So I think that was a mistake on my part when I was updating the specs 2 months ago to set that value to 2 instead of 6. It doesn't matter anyway, because we're not gonna increase the blob count before Electra anyway. So now applying the same logic would be, if we want to have the option to do blob count increase only forks in execution, we can set the Electra parameters to a higher value than the actual one. That way we have this option. If we set it to 2, then we don't have that option, and we have to wait for Ethereum to do a fork if we want to increase the blob count.
Do you still think that we need this option, or should we just kind of do like Ethereum and do 2 for Spectra as well? Like,
I'll think about it. Like, I actually did a research. It's in an issue where I basically proved that the downside of having a higher value in consensus is negligible, as it doesn't really open any significant DOS vector. So there is no downside to having it higher. So yeah, maybe we should do it. Just why not?
I mean, just to make sure that we stay in sync with Ethereum, basically. But I mean, if it's like, the question is, how likely is it that we will need to update the blob count before Ethereum does, for example?
Yeah,
we had this.
I think it's unlikely. So
yeah, same.
It's little benefit either way.
Yeah, but can we actually finalize this issue soon? Because in Erigon we also have Kaplan, SEL implementation, and I need to configure Kaplan properly for Spectra on Chiado.
I mean, the deadline is basically whenever we finalize the mainnet date. That's the moment that the spec cannot change anymore. But before
Yeah,
then,
but for Shadow, we also want like a consistent spec.
yeah, but it doesn't really matter. Like you can change that variable at runtime during a fork, and it's not a big issue. Like the worst that can happen is if someone tries to spam those blob topics, some of the validators will propagate the blobs, other ones will not. But it doesn't matter because anyway, all that data would eventually be dropped.
So it
as the
doesn't matter
execution layer.
for consensus. That's what you're saying.
Well, what it changes behavior slightly, but it doesn't affect the chain in a noticeable way.
You mean block count?
So say that we have in consensus layer, some clients have a higher max than others, both values being equal or higher than the actual max that is enforced by the execution layer. If someone tries to propose a block with more blobs than it should, then the clients that have the higher value will propagate these blobs to the network. They will get into the clients, but the block will be rejected because it's invalid. When you send the block to the execution layer and it has more blobs than it should, then it's invalid. So eventually everything gets rejected and the block is not imported by anyone. The only difference is that the blobs will be propagated by some clients, but not others. On Gossip.
Yeah, but this change still requires hard fork, right?
No.
I think yes, because otherwise some of the execution clients will say that block is valid and some...
No, we are talking exclusively about consensus layer.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But generally as a whole system, then it requires hard fork. Because you need to specify block count in EL as well.
Yeah, and we have decided that to be 2-1, and we're not changing that. So the debate is, do we want to use in consensus a value that's higher than the one that we actually want?
I see. Okay.
I think we should just follow Ethereum in this case because we will not increase the blobs before them, and yeah, just sync with them basically. So set it in the CL on 2 as well.
Yeah, that's what the spec does now.
And what we were doing on DevNets?
So on the DevNet test, we have been doing that. Like the maximum is the same in consensus and execution.
Okay.
But again, in order to test that, you would have to manually create an invalid block.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so should we agree that we do 1-2 on the CL, or just the max 2-2 on the CL as well, and stay in sync with Ethereum then?
Yeah.
So that we can finalize the spec and allow Erigon to cut the releases for Chaplin as well.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Let's get back to the document. Okay, Marek?
Just a quick one. Talking about consensus layer configuration, I assume, Lion, you are preparing that for Gnosis, and maybe just you want someone to review it as well. So if you can send links to all configs.
Sure.
Maybe Dimitra or maybe Carlos, you can guys review if the configuration is okay, and I will take a look as well.
So, one question I have regarding the Hodesky failure is it possible to catch this with a shadow fork?
I think not necessarily. Carlos?
Yeah, a problem was with client's config, the one they have built in code. So shadow forks required you to pass manual configs for the network or the shadow for you're doing. So basically, it will be an issue if the tools that generate these configs has the issue, but otherwise you won't get you won't detect that the clients do have a wrong configuration. So shadow force wouldn't have helped, but anyway.
So yeah, in this specific case, it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is a bit unfortunate because even I wrote a review comment to add this, but then we switched to another branches and so on. It was a long time ago when we were developing 6.1.10, and yeah, unfortunately, it happens.
But this is now fixed in all the clients, and we are confident that for Gnosis Chain or for Shadow, it will not happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think no one will allow to do the same failure right now, and everyone will triple check that the post contract address is configured. So I don't afraid of this specific failure, right? Because right now we remember about this mistake.
Okay, what happens if so I think Sepolia is on Wednesday, right? And we do Shadow on Thursday. What happens if there's an issue with Pectra or the hot fork on Wednesday for Sepolia? Do we cancel the Shadow one?
How much control we have over Shadow? I think almost 100%, right?
At least supermajority, yes.
So I think we can quickly sync and decide just after Sepolia fork.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Then let's maybe carve out some time to make sure that we can cancel if the worst case scenario happens. But yeah, it should anyways just be like 4 people, one from Gateway, Nethermind, Erigon, and Gnosis, I think. Should be enough to control all the nodes, so yeah. Mark, is there any way we could have some tests processes to catch these kinds of misconfigurations? I guess not. Well, I get that's for you to say, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answer there, but I'm just thinking, like, I mean, we have a whole like testing process, obviously, but this seems like some small part which is outside of that, which isn't really covered. But I'm not sure if there's a good way that we could do that.
Yeah, Lukasz.
So our configs right between clients are different, so I don't know if we can easily get a test that is cross-client. I did add a PR in Nevermind. It's not yet merged. That if we mark some fields in the config chain spec, actually it's more chain spec correctly, we will get a potential error on startup that there's something wrong, that it's misconfigured. So I kind of did it, but it's not like foolproof, but it's something. So you can potentially do something, but it's more per client rather than a universal thing at the moment.
Okay, let's just finish the updates and then we can get back to Pectra because we got derailed a bit. So Geth, I don't know if Guillaume is here. No. Okay, so Wrath then.
Yeah. So the second full sync, the post-merge full sync is running, and I started that on Monday, and currently we already have processed around 25% of the blocks. So yeah, maybe in a week it will be done. A little more than a week, honestly. Coming to Pectra, the features, I mean, the extra EIPs that got into Pectra, I implemented them on Reth, but I need a reference to test them against. There's some issue, like I'm discussing on the Gnosis QA group for the Nethermind one, post Pectra. So I think that will get resolved. And additionally, I also want to do the Pectra thing on Chiado, like sync Chiado and on the side. But yeah, these two things are going on the Pectra side. Additionally, so the Pectra config that I saw on Gnosis QA, that had the Genesis in the constructor format, like instead of the code storage format. So Reth currently doesn't support that. I am looking to add support for that, but I mean, it might take some time. But yeah, I mean, mostly work on Pectra is going, and Reth can fully sync Cancun till now.
Awesome, sounds good. So yeah, I guess you're in contact then with Nethermind to get this resolved somehow, or what's the plan?
You mean Reth to get the constructor things resolved, or which one?
Oh, it's just because of the constructor thing?
Yes. I mean, to start to join the DevNet, Pectra DevNet, I need to figure out the constructor issue. And on the side, just to try out this EIP individually, I mean, the fee collector thing, I need to reference with Nethermind. So yeah, I mean, let's say I'll talk to Reth about the constructor issue, but if that gets resolved, Reth will be able to join the, what's it called, the Pectra DevNet 6.
Okay, sounds good. But Reth supports like overrides for the bytecode of an address and then also the storage slots, or does it not?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Can you, like, for example, in the Genesis file, you can set the bytecode for one specific address and then also storage slots. Does Reth support that?
Yes. So setting the bytecode and storage, that works perfectly. Just the constructor arguments doesn't work.
Okay, because technically the constructor, you can just execute it on some other node and then get the bytecode and storage slots out and then set the config, right?
Yes. That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, let's see how it works. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, Andrew?
Andrew.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to come back to something related to the max blobs. So like when DevJit is finished, I can talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm done.
Just to finish on this, I think we had this same issue with Erigon at the beginning. I don't know if they ended up implementing the constructor or kind of convert the constructor to a storage slot plus bytecode thing. But in both cases, I think it should be fairly easy either to implement it or to execute it and then take the final states.
Yeah. I was looking at Nethermind's source, and the way they do it is before the chain starts, they send the system transaction using the specific address and the constructor. So I was trying to do that on Reth, wasn't successful. But yeah, I mean, trying out ways. But we'll mostly go with the way that you suggested, deploying on another state and then just taking the bytecode.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so let's go back to Pectra. First things first, just to confirm, did anyone check the timestamps for Shadow and Mainnet? The ones the line generated. Did anyone?
Yes, just before this call, I checked with our automated test, but I haven't checked manually yet. I'm talking about this epoch boundaries.
And the automated tests worked?
So it checks if I think this timestamp has to be dividable by some number or something like that. I don't remember details, but basically it's checking this logic that was that we failed when we scheduled Chapella, I guess, for Chiado.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still I'm working on it basically, but for now the test is passing.
Okay, sounds good. And Erigon, has anyone checked for you on your side?
No. What should we check for?
So line like those timestamps here from last week. Check if this like slots is the right slot at this timestamp, and if it's on the right epoch boundary.
Sure.
That's enough, right, Lion?
Yeah. Yeah, the most important, make sure that the timestamp matches the slot. That's the most important. Otherwise, we will have a broken fork, like what happened the other time. If the epoch doesn't allow, it's unfortunate, but nothing will break on the chain. Immediately on the fork, I mean.
All right. So, Andrew, you can go back to your max block counting.
Yeah. So I actually kind of double checked, and then now I realize that probably this max blobs it affects scale consensus, because there was a fix by Milan to make sure that we have we set max blobs block to 2 even on DNAP, because it feeds into this static array of blobs. So I don't think, like Lion, you mentioned that on DNAP the max blobs on the consensus layer was higher than 2, and I don't think it's the case, because we actually had to set that to 2 to avoid CL root mismatches.
So what I was saying is that the max blobs per block constant was introduced into the spec after the DNAP hard fork.
And at which hard fork was it introduced? Do you remember?
In Electra.
No, but I think. But
let me dig up the spec. Give me a moment.
Okay, maybe it's our implementation, but we actually had to set it to 2 even before Electra to make Shadow work. So maybe Milan might have more context on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll need to check that PR because it was a while ago, but we had a root, like a hash root mismatch in Kaplan in our CO, and I had to like align several config values to
it was a preset value before.
Yeah, I'll need to check the PR.
So on the DNAP hard fork, it was a preset value, and then it got moved as a config.
And so if it's part of the config, then it's part of the hash of SSZ, right? Because I think I had to align several. I had to align several values in our config to match the root hash, but it may turn out that it was other values, not this one in particular, that were.
So only preset values can affect the SSZ data structure. Config values will never affect the SSZ data structure.
Well, in any case, now I think in our implementation we fix it for DNAP and it's fine. But I don't think it's true that on DNAP the max blobs was higher than that. Was actually 6 or something like that. Because if it were the case, then we wouldn't have we wouldn't have had to make this change.
Okay, Milan, can you just check if what you actually changed for this to work?
Yeah, I'll check and we can discuss this offline if that's okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure how long it would take me to figure this out now.
Okay, so let's check on that first, and then we'll see afterwards if we need to make any changes. I also ask Lion to double check what's like this change from presets to config means or whatever, if this could be a problem. Yeah, just let's make sure we have all our bases covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lion?
Yeah, so on the DNAP fork, max blobs per block as a value in the spec as a whole existed, but it was defined as a preset. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense because it's not used in any data structure. So actually, it was me that changed the Ethereum specs on June 2024, so after the DNAP hard fork, to move that value to be a config value.
But what defines the size of the blobs array?
It's another value, which is a preset, and it's the
So like the gas
max blob commitments per block. No, yeah, max block, which is a very high number. So it's 4,096. So basically, the upper bound of blobs in a block as of the SSE test structure is 4,000, which it's basically a value that we will never reach.
Okay, fine. Yeah, maybe we can just investigate it offline.
I mean, you must be using this 4,000 value, because otherwise your blocks will not hash correctly.
Okay, let's maybe continue this offline, and it's once Milan has checked what's actually changed for the DevNet. And then let's move on to the blob-based fee update fraction from Marek.
Yes, just want to confirm. We want to stay this value to be the same as it was before Spectra. Correct, Lion?
Yes, that's what the spec says now.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Can someone remind me what that variable was?
So the update function changes the dynamism of the fee adjustment mechanism. So there was a push, I think, before to, or I think I got confused. Like there are two values. We have the minimum and the update fraction. Now I think I recall, like in Ethereum, one issue that we had before, and I think it still applies now, is that when the fee goes to 0 and then block capacity shoots up, it takes a while for the base fee to be a value that's not negligible. And that time could be like an hour or two. So the market is not very dynamic. And there was a push to increase the minimum so that the market was more reactive. We don't have this issue because our mean blob fee is 1 gig away, so it's already quite high. Then the update fraction got updated in Ethereum because now the ratio between max and target is not 2:1 anymore. It's another fraction. So if I recall, with the current update value, the percent it would increase and decrease was not the same anymore. So they find a new value that was more symmetrical with the current ratio of values. But because in our case we are still at a fraction of 2:1, the previous value is still good.
Okay, can you document this reasoning somewhere, maybe on the specs repo, so that we
it's already documented on the TR that changes it.
Perfect. All right. Is there anything else to discuss specifically for Pectra? Is everyone feeling confident for the configs and everything we just discussed for Shadow, assuming that the change for the blob counts is okay after we talk offline with Milan?
Yeah, in my opinion, there has been no event that changes my confidence in the fork. So if we were confident a week ago, we should be the same confident today.
Yes, I agree. The only thing is this disaster recovery, but I don't think that we should wait with everything because, like something like that might happen even now, right? It is not related to Pectra, this disaster recovery. And actually, I hope it will improve after this OSP incident.
But there is also this change, like if we change the max blob count in the CL, that is a change we haven't tested on the DevNet, right? Like they're going from 6 to 2. Could this be
Yeah,
an issue?
we have that in the net live in our network for a while, so I'm not sure what testing you want.
The 6 value for the CL, but is downgrading from 6 to 2 from the NEP to Pectra potentially an issue?
I'm very confident that no.
Okay. All right. Anything else then?
Just to double check, and maybe can we, if it was not tested, can we test it, Carlos, Dimitro, and update our DevNets configs? I'm not sure if it does require a new DevNet. Probably not.
So I get it. It's weird, but remember that these subnets are not used, so it doesn't have any effect in functionality.
But it's not just the subnets, right? It's also the max blobs per block.
Yeah, but no EL will create a block that's higher than that. So the only way to use these extra subnets is by sending garbage data.
Right, but I mean, so do you want to keep it at 6 or to downgrade it to 2? Because if we change it, because it is a preset, right? So will the
No, it's a config value.
Okay, because in your PR it says that max blobs per block value 6 is a type CL preset.
It was a preset before.
Ah, right.
And then in June 2024 in Ethereum specs, we changed it from a preset to a config.
Okay,
it should have been a config all along. I don't know who put it on presets. It doesn't make any sense. It breaks the way the specs are designed. Well, it doesn't break them, but it's presets are only for values that affect SEC data structures and nothing else. Everything else must be a config. But either way, it doesn't matter.
So because it was never like in an official network as a preset, right? Or was it?
It was. Yeah, it went live in the NEP as being a preset.
Okay.
But it only matters if this value affects the SSE data structure, then it matters. It never affected the SSE data structure, so it doesn't really matter where you put it. Like, it doesn't change client's functionality in any way.
Okay, got it. All right, yeah, but I think, yeah, still, if it's possible to do it without spinning up a new DevNet, might as well just test it and see. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to test it real quick. Yeah, okay. Anything else?
But I'm not sure, like, I'm trying to think, what is the test? How can we test it?
I mean, just change the config to 2 and then...
But then what you will have is, consider that there is uneven behavior between consensus clients. Some clients would maybe remain subscribed to these subnets. Other clients would not remain subscribed. If there is no traffic on the subnet, you would not observe any behavior, basically. Like, client will not crash because this number decreases. It will just result in strange network things. Like, some clients would accept things, others would reject. Maybe you have scoring issues. Maybe some subnets are there or not. But if you don't use the subnets, then the test is kind of useless.
I see.
So we would have to do this. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Like, in order to test this, we would have to do this downgrade and then simulate an attack of someone trying to exploit these subnets.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if we test just that it doesn't break the network, that would already be good enough, I would say. Yeah, I mean, if there's no chance for it, then why not? But if it's an easy test to do, just make sure that the network runs afterwards. I think it's good enough.
Sure.
All right. Anything else? Yeah, Yaroslav?
Yeah, I want to ask you all about the era import export functionality and the proposal that I shared a few weeks ago in the Telegram chat. Yeah, I want to figure out the temperature in the room. I just shared the message that includes the PDF file. Yeah. So basically, I can walk you through the proposal and see what you think.
Just go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, it has like few steps. First one, I think it's kind of the most like open question, is to like export the historical data and figure out how we should like store it and distribute it. I think Mark has idea to kind of split the responsibility of keeping the archives between Nethermind, Gnosis, and I think Gateway. Kind of have multiple copies of the same archives. Yeah, then we need to like prepare the infrastructure for that, update the documentation, maybe provide some like scripts to like do the import for the users. Yeah, and also I guess update the configs for the Nethermind client. That's the last step, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know enough about torrents, but it would be great if those could be easily published as torrents, and then anyone could, seed them or whatever, including then Nethermind, Gateway, and us. In addition, maybe to storing this on S3 or whatever, on a public HTTP website. But having this as torrents would allow anyone to, participate, keep the data, seed it, whatever, which I think would be very much in the spirit of, blockchain and being open. So yeah, but definitely I think we should at least, Nethermind and Gnosis, maybe even Gateway, store this. And I think we can start as soon as we can.
Okay.
So just to be clear, we will do this probably after Pectra to not create a mess right now. But I don't know, how do you feel about this, Felipe?
Yeah, totally. I think it's not worth doing this now.
Yeah, mainnet will do it 1st May. So yeah, we can do it after Pectra, basically.
Wait, you said 1st of May for?
Yeah, so there's an agreement that starting from 1st May, clients don't have to store pre-merge history. That is the rough consensus, but there might be pushback that, I don't know, it is too early for that or whatever, but this is the rough consensus right now. Yeah, and to add to this, it's related to 2 terabytes disks, so to make it comfortable for users on 2 terabytes and give time to Portal network and so on.
But Portal will not be ready by then, right?
So kind of Portal is ready, but the problem is that Portal being ready is only one side of the things, because we need to integrate it with EL clients, and I think Nethermind is working on that, and not sure if any other clients is working on that right now. And also we have a little bit harder task here, because Portal network has clients for different languages, but not for .NET. But we are progressing with that, and not sure where we will be 1st May. Maybe we will be ready with Portal network. But yeah, anyway, we would like to remove history if we have ready or not ready Portal network pre-merge history. Is it make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Perfect. I think I'll still contact Yaroslav offline to just see what might be needed to be done already now to potentially upload pre-merge history, just by interest, and then to see what options we have, basically. But yeah, that's focus on it after Backdraft for sure. All right. Anything else? Sounds good. All right, so please ping us when all the releases are done for Shadow, but yeah, so with the max blob counts being reduced to 2. And then Carlos, Marek, I don't know who, but can we just very quickly just test if the network takes this, doesn't crash for any particular reason with this CL change? If we can test this, that would be awesome. But we can also discuss that offline. And then for the rest, yeah, thanks for joining and see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.